record. But anyways, my name is Sean. I am the host of Recover Out Loud podcast. Next to me, we got Brandon. Go ahead, give yourself a light introduction.
Yeah, I'm Brandon Couch, and I host the Recovery Couch podcast.
You got Josh.
I'm Josh, and I host the OYB Recovery Podcast.
And we are the Brothers of Recovery. This is a space where brothers and men share their experience in recovery, where we share what it's like, what happened, and where we are now in recovery. Not that we want to exclude women, but it's very hard to find men's only podcasts, and this is exactly what we wanted to do. And so we're going to give brief introductions. We're going to have some topic-driven conversations every episode. But welcome to episode number 1. This is just our introductions and maybe some light conversations. So Brandon, would you like to revisit part of your story?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I just want everyone to know that I do not know everything. I am a work in progress. I accept that today. That's part of the acceptance piece of my recovery. Because when I came into recovery, I had to look in the mirror and realize that my ego had me thinking that I was a know-it-all, and that know-it-all made some poor decisions with some old ideas that you know put me in prison. And so I had to make a lot of changes, and I was welcomed into a community of people who accepted me with my mistakes, my baggage, everything. They loved me when I couldn't love myself. And that was what kept me coming back into this recovery journey because at the beginning of it, I really wasn't interested in a lot of the principles of recovery. I was closed minded. So now today, I want people to know I'm not a know it all. I've been blessed as a voice in the recovery world to be on this podcast, to be on the other podcast. And I take that blessing very seriously. But that doesn't mean that I know it all. And I'm looking forward to what I can learn from you guys as we continue these discussions. So check out my book, Step Forward Journey Through Addiction, and continue to listen to the Brothers of Recovery. I think this is going to be really good for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Brandon. And Josh, would you like to give a brief introduction?
I'm Josh. I have 12 years sober. It'll be 13 in September. Um, yeah, recovery's been a journey for me. From being diagnosed with cancer when I was younger, and it led to my addiction, and fighting that beast of addiction it's really hard just for everyone. But like you said, we're trying to focus on the men's health side of it, because not only is it about recovery, but it's also about mental health as well. To just reach out to the brother next to you and just say, "Are you okay? Do you need any help?" And through this journey, it's led me to so many great connections, including this one, meeting these two good brothers in recovery that we haven't known each other very long, but I feel like I've known them forever. And I have nothing but love and respect for these two gentlemen right here. They are an inspiration, and I can't, just the way, same as Brandon, I can't wait to see what I can learn from them. And hopefully just they keep pushing me to be successful, not only in my recovery, but also my everyday life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Josh. I appreciate you. My name is Sean. I am the maestro of madness, I guess. I'll call myself the maestro of madness. I came up with that as I was coming back into my office, into my recording space. I walked past my roommate's door and I said, I'm the maestro of madness, man. But anyways, like I said, my name is Sean. I am a podcaster. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I just hit 6 years. It's about half of what Josh has had, but still nonetheless, no different. Um, I was in the Army for 12 and a half years, had multiple deployments, multiple different traumas, which led to my addiction. And when I was in the Army, and my addiction flourished when I got out of the Army. And so I found myself in recovery after going to jail. And once I got out, I put my nose to the grindstone and I started learning the basics of recovery. And then I learned more advanced things like service work, right? Service work is huge. This is what we're doing here. We're providing service here. And so I started up my podcast as well, working on my on books of, autobiographies about my life. I feel that it's very important to share our story and share our experience from, one brother to another. And so, like Brandon and Josh said, I'm going to echo what they said. I cannot wait to learn from these gentlemen and see where this goes, because I have a feeling this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a cool experience, cool venture. So, anyways, I think I want to pose the first question, and we can leave it open ended. There's going to kind of be, oh, my camera did something wild. It's like following my hands and shit. Anyways, so it's not going to be so rigid, but what we're going to do is we're going to pose a question. We're going to give each member anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to talk and answer. And if there is a question, interrupt, just politely we'll say, hey, I got something I want to say. So anyways, I want to pose the first question. Anybody who wants to answer first, go right ahead. My first question is, what does recovery mean to you?
Josh, go ahead.
From a personal standpoint, recovery means everything to me. It has changed my life for the better, through connections, through continued learning. Because like Brandon, I've been to prison. I've been in and out of jail and prison my whole adult life, starting from when I was 20, going all the way up to just recently when I turned 34 or 31, and I'm now 35. Um, so everything in life has a learning curve. So I had to learn how to be successful in my recovery. I already knew what to do as far as staying sober and obtaining long-term sobriety. But at the end of the day, what was I really doing? Yes, I changed my life and I was living a better life, but was I truly living? I just basically worked a 9 to 5 dead end job for the longest time. And then just out of nowhere, because of my prison sentence, I was like gifted from, God, in my opinion, this opportunity to become a peer recovery specialist. So through that gift, like it's made me who I am. It's made me a better man for my fiance, for my daughter, for my mother and father. Like I strive every day to be somebody that when they look at me, they're like, I'm proud of him. So recovery's meant so much to me on a personal level. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that, there's always stigmas for people in recovery. And I hope with this podcast and with, this connection that we have, that we can help try to eliminate that stigma. Brandon, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, dude. No, I love what you just said. Josh, the gift that you were given and that you appreciated and you handled correctly. To me, recovery has been an opportunity to understand who I am. It's a heart issue as far as I'm concerned. Recovery is. I had to figure out what I was recovering from. A lot of people say it was drugs or alcohol. But what I found out when I started diving deeper into why I coped with substances was that I was masking pain. I was running from copious amounts of pain. And then I had to figure out, okay, what was this pain from? And I've learned a ton on this subject. But to me, it was a broken heart. Like my heart had been battered and bruised throughout my years of being on this earth. We live in a wounded world, a world where we glorify things like sex and drugs and rock and roll. So we were conditioned at an early age to look up to people who were participating in sex and drugs and rock and roll, and the wounding that that did to my heart, the wounding that relationships had done to my heart, um, kept me going back to sex and drugs and rock and roll, quite frankly. So recovery proposed this idea of, okay, get rid of old ideas. That's kind of how the terms used in the recovery rooms, and start to gather new ideas. And as I started to gather new ideas, I was introduced to topics like, you know, trauma and how the human body responds to it, and how our central nervous system uh, maintains that trauma in our body. So whenever we feel anything similar to it, we're in fight or flight or freeze mode, and how our brain, and the amygdala, this little almond-sized piece of our brain, stores trauma. And there's only certain types of ways that they introduce to you in recovery rooms and in counseling offices, as like EMDR therapies or CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where they retrain your brain how to think. And so since I've been in recovery, I've kind of started to see it more like an opportunity to learn more about this disease of addiction, learn more about myself. And in learning about those two things, it's prepared me to be able to take this message to other people and let them know that, regardless of stigma, you are not your past. You are not your worst mistake. There is hope for you. You're going to have to change the way you think. You're going to have to get to the root of your issues. But to me, that's what recovery is about. It's an opportunity to provide hope, and that's what the brothers did for me when I first came into the recovery rooms. They loved me regardless of my prison sentence, or regardless of my drug use, or regardless of my sexual encounters. They loved me regardless, and that provided me hope to embark on this journey of gaining all this knowledge to help me understand who I am and what was at the root of my addiction. So that's what recovery means to me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for sharing. I want to say real quick that I believe that recovery isn't just it's not just sobriety, right? And we focus a lot of people are on the sobriety journey, and that's okay. If you quit drinking, that's okay. But recovery is something completely different. And I found that out. I've been on many sobriety journeys where I was just a dry drunk and I quit drinking and that was it. And nothing would have prepared me for what I entered into when I actually entered into recovery, and I gave myself the space to feel, because my active addiction was me running, literally running for my life, running away from my childhood, the trauma that I faced in my childhood, running away from failed relationships that I had actively fucked up. You know, it and relationships can be, friend, family, romantic, right? And it was just me running away from all of my problems. And when I entered into recovery, I had to be brutally honest. And I had never been brutally honest a day in my life. Everything came with a half measure. Everything came with an excuse or reason as to why that I acted the way that I did. And I masked everything that I did until I entered into recovery. And I had to actually be honest with myself. And that was the moment that I stopped running and I stopped chasing the first drink that I ever took or the first drug that I ever experienced. It was the moment that all the background noise just stopped. And it was kind of like one of the best moments that I've ever had in my life, outside of like spiritual experiences and like the birth of my daughter. But the reality is, when I entered into recovery, I got handed a key to a door that I didn't know existed, to a door to a better life. And like Josh said, after I had gained some time and whoa, what are you doing, friend? Come back over here. My camera, my camera just does not like me. It just shot the mess over there. Anyways, so back on track. I I became a certified peer support specialist in Alaska, and it was awesome. I loved it. I just couldn't use the tools and skills that I had in such a limited market, because There's not a lot of recovery spaces in Alaska. So once I moved down back home, life kind of changed and a lot of doors opened up. I don't do peer work, but I do a lot of service work. And the service work I do is not just beneficial to myself, but it's beneficial to the other people. And I think once we step into those realms of actually doing service work and giving back to our communities, the communities that gave us so much, right? And like, I think Josh and well, I think Brandon had mentioned, that service work isn't just what we do here. It's in the rooms. Like you step into a room, you set up the chairs, you make the coffee, you greet people when they come through the door. Service work can come in many different forms. And so I find that recovery to me means everything. It gave me the opportunity to, like Josh said, become a better human being. It gave me the opportunity to stop running from the bullshit that I had faced in my life. And it gave me the opportunity to actually be brutally honest with myself for the first time. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, let me add to that. So
Yeah.
I I've came to learn that recovery is more than just recovery from addiction. So it's you don't capsize the boat when somebody says recovery. You're not like, oh, that doesn't pertain to me. That pertains to everybody. Everybody's recovering from something. It doesn't have to be addiction. So everything that we just discussed is relevant to anybody in any walk of life. Recovery from anything is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think the fact that we can now recognize that, like it's recognized in the DSM-5 that addiction isn't the only thing we're recovering from. I think that that's huge, right? Because like we back in the day, I mean, there's a documentary called The Anonymous People. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's an amazing documentary, but it talked about how people like all three of us used to get thrown in insane asylums to rot and die. And now we're given an opportunity to live out a full life because of the people that went through that. And it's absolutely horrible, but I'm grateful that those people paved the way for where we are today. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, one of the things that I also wanted to hit on is because we're not necessarily focusing on all the bad things, one of the things that I wanted to focus on is a lot of people have a hard time having fun in recovery. Like they think once you quit the substance, everything goes downhill because you can't do the things that you used to do when you were drinking. How true or how false is that to each one of you?
I believe that's completely false. Like I've had more fun in my being in recovery than I did when I was in active addiction, when my mental health was terrible. Um, I've learned to embrace things for what they are, to not take advantage of them. I fell back in love with like fishing and hunting, and like I was never the person that wanted to go hunting. I thought camo was the ugliest thing in the world. And it's like, who wants to be out there at 5 o'clock in the morning waiting for just hoping that a deer comes by? And if it's not the right size, then you got to just let it go. And so now, like, I look at that and I'm watching like outdoor shows. I'm like, there's a show called Alone where they just drop these contestants in like the northernmost part of Canada, like near the Arctic Circle, and see who can outlast who. And I'm sitting there watching with my fiance, like, I could do that. knowing damn well that I can't because I can't have like hot pockets and stuff like that. I gotta actually like hunt for my food. And I just learned how to skin a fish. Like, and if I don't do it right, I'm gonna rupture a spleen or a stomach, and I'm probably gonna kill myself. So, like, I find enjoyment in everything. Like when I was in active addiction, I'd play video games. I've always been a video game lover and a pro wrestling fan. Um, but I can't tell you how much enjoyment I got out of it because it was all fogged up through my mental health and my addiction. Um, like if anybody out there's a wrestling fan, the Summer of Punk, I don't remember any of it, but I've watched it on YouTube, so now I'm like, yeah, I love that guy, you know? And I remember watching it, but I don't remember finding enjoyment of it. But now, like even with video games, even like the dumbest thing, there's a game called Split Fiction. I play it with my fiance. I love that game so much because she's so bad at it. And it just makes it all the more enjoyable for me. And I know that if I was still drinking or, doing pills or any other substance that I could have got my hands on, I wouldn't be this fun-loving person that I am now. Like I thoroughly enjoy life. I don't like to waste a minute of it. Like every minute that I'm awake during the day, I try and make it fun. I try and spend it with the people I love the most. And I wasn't like that before. I was just fixated on a substance that didn't really care about me. But I equate to this like it was like getting rid of a really bad bodyguard. That's basically what that substance was to me. It was a really bad bodyguard. It would protect me from the outside world, but it was killing me at the same time.
Yeah, for me, hmm, you know, I find some of the same events fun as I did when I was an active addiction, for instance, sporting events. But I noticed that I go to sporting events with different groups now, um, like my children, and those memories. When I look back on my cell phone and I see my son and I smiling as we take a selfie, or my daughter and I smiling as we take a selfie. First of all, the ability to remember those moments is huge. And then, second of all, I think way more fonder of of that type of fun, of those types of moments than I do of tailgating and drinking and, you know, at 7 in the morning and then, popping a pill at noon because the hangover is about to kick in. And so I can give myself some fuel to go longer. And then, yeah, I'm pretty much having a foggy memory of that entire day. And the pictures that get posted are just, embarrassing, glazed over looks. And so a lot of the things that I do for fun today are still the same. Um, I do a lot more self-care stuff today, and I consider that fun. Time to do some breath work or some meditation or some exercise. I enjoy grocery shopping today. That's fun for me. I'll read some labels, or I'll stare too long at the cereal aisle, knowing that I'm not going to pick up a box because it's too sugary. Or I enjoy that type of stuff. I don't know, it's weird, but I'm weird, to be completely honest with you, in a lot of ways. But I don't have any issues having fun. That doesn't mean that I don't still I feel the stress. I used to be able to numb out my stress or my anxieties or things that life throws at you. So I still feel those things, but that doesn't mean that I can't create time for fun. And then I have to make time for it too. I need to make sure that I'm enjoying life. Sometimes, fellas, my addiction teeters on workaholic. And I have to check myself. My work life balance needs to be a lot better at times. So I don't think I realized that in early recovery that uh, it's really easy to trade my drug addiction for a workaholism addiction, um, because I have my eyes set on this finish line, never really taking a moment to step back and enjoy the moment or live present or smell the roses, as some people say. So those are the moments. The reason I bring that up, those are the moments when I sit back, those are the moments that I have fun in. Sometimes I'm not saying a word and I'm just watching my children play, or I'm not saying a word. I'm just feeling a peaceful presence. I feel inner peace. That's fun for me. I didn't have that in addiction. It was chaos, inner turmoil. So yeah, it comes in different forms and it comes in a lot of the same events. But yeah, I don't have any issues having fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. For me, I would say, well, first off, with like Josh said, I'm a huge professional wrestling fan. There's things like in wrestling, there's things in wrestling that I don't remember, right? Like he said, it's things that, like certain pay-per-views that I've watched that I've been absolutely ham-hocked watching. Don't remember them. I'll watch them through YouTube and be like, "Oh shit, that really happened." Um, but I will also say that I used to love traveling. When I first joined the army, I was stationed in Italy, and so like I was able to go anywhere, do anything. But the issue that I ran into was I was planning my trips around what was the best bar to go to, what's the best nightclub to go to, how much are their drinks, can't did I bring enough money to get absolutely hammered, right? Um, and so I had a hard time when I actually got into recovery, diving into that will to want to travel again. And it wasn't until I actually moved back home that I started enjoying traveling again, where my daughter used to live in Tennessee, and where I live now, it's a 10-hour drive to Tennessee. I love 10-hour drives, dude. 10-hour drives are the greatest because it gives me time to like decompress. A lot of people like will get upset on the road. I know. I enjoy driving. I enjoy the open roads. I enjoy seeing new things. Every time that I would drive to Tennessee, I'd see something new that I didn't see before. So it was really cool. And now she lives in Germany, so now I really get to go travel and do a lot of that cool stuff. And so more trips are planned in the future. But I really enjoy traveling because I find myself now, instead of saying what is the best bar, how late are they open, what are the sales on their drinks, to, man, what is the landmark in this country or in this city that I can go to and I can experience and I can sit with and really just, you know, be grounded in that moment and enjoy the experience, not just enjoy um the drink, or enjoy, chase the high of going. Another thing is like wrestling events. I I never went to wrestling events when I was in active addiction, just because I didn't have enough money. God, my camera just hates me today. Um, but I never went to wrestling events because I didn't have enough money because I was spending all my money on drinking. But now I'm enjoying it. Now I'm checking off pay-per-views that I wanted to go to, like WrestleMania, gone. SummerSlam, gone. Independent wrestling shows. You can see some of my stuff back there. But anyways, I've done the things that I want to. I mean, there's still a few shows I want to go to, but I'm enjoying the fact that I am sober and I have the money and I can actually do those things versus Friday rolling around and be like, how much can I afford to go buy at the alcohol store, or, at the beer dispensary. So yeah, I absolutely really enjoy this thing that we call recovery. Um, but before we go, because we're about to hit the time limit, I wanted to do a check-in. How has your guys' week been? And what, if any, struggles have you faced this week? And how did you work through them?
Brandon, I'll let you go first this time.
Okay, yeah. So my week has been good. Um, I've been for the last 6 months trying to hone in on what is my messaging? How do I incorporate my story into messaging, say for speaking engagements or my next book? And I think that I've had a bit of a breakthrough um, with my messaging, and that has came from some research and some reading. I've been diving into Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. It is a phenomenal book about the masculine journey of understanding and discovering a man's heart. Josh was talking about hunting and fishing earlier, and this book is diving into, and I'm not even two chapters in, but how men yearn for a journey and a mission to, for lack of a better phrase, save a damsel in distress, basically from a burning building. And I relate so much to that. It's like, yeah, I've always wanted to be a hero. I loved putting on my karate outfit when I was a kid. I loved dressing up as a superhero. It's the same reason why when I was younger, I watched WWF is what it was then. It's WWE now. Um, because the storyline, it was more the storyline. Like, yeah, I want Stone Cold to come in and save, The Rock from getting beat by The Undertaker because he would be a hero for that. And I'm rooting for my hero. And so I've found that I can reclaim my masculinity. Like I don't have to walk just because I'm faith based and I follow Jesus doesn't mean that I have to walk in this walk as a timid, you know, do-gooder. I'm more called to love people, and sometimes, um, love doesn't just look like helping an old lady across the street. Sometimes love looks like distancing yourself from problems that you're weak to or temptations you're weak to. Sometimes that's self-love. Sometimes you got to distance yourself from somebody you love because they're a threat to your sobriety or your recovery. And being able to walk boldly and courageously as a man and be that protector and that provider. So that's been the good part of my week. Where I've struggled, to your question, Sean, I struggle with lust. Um, my addiction is synonymous with lust. It goes all the way back to my early childhood sexual trauma. Was I was high and there was sexual trauma. And pornography played a big role. As a kid, the boys in my neighborhood had Playboys or Hustlers hidden, and we would look at them, and eventually, we watched pornography on cassette, a video cassette, and eventually DVD, and then it gets to the cell phone, and those things, rewired my mind in a way that I wish they wouldn't have. And so what I realize now that I am sober from drugs is that my body still yearns for comfort. And unfortunately, in my case, the reality is I want comfort through, my, um, the idea of sex, right? And that's been my struggle, and I've had to be honest about that. I've had to tell on that these last 2 weeks, and that's been met with some timidity. Some people maybe are that's a little too taboo for me, and I've been met with some, bro, that's courageous, bro. I deal with that too. And it at the core of it, it's my yearning for instant gratification, and I'm no different than any other human being in this world when it comes to instant gratification. I want it, and I want it now. I wasn't, made any differently than the next person as far as the wiring is concerned. So, I've been battling that spiritually. I've been battling that big time, and trying to invite, a peaceful, calming presence into those moments where, I'm, everything my head's telling me is, you just seek discomfort. It'll help you sleep. It'll help you relax. And, instead I got to kind of say, no, I'm choosing a different way of life today. I'm choosing not to feed my flesh with any of these instant gratifications. I'm choose to be disciplined. And so that's been my struggle, fellas, for real, for real.
Takes a lot to share that. Um, and I appreciate you sharing that because, I struggle with the same thing for the longest time, like the pornography thing. And, nowadays it's even more difficult from when we were kids. because everything is sexualized. Um, you can't get on social media or get a friend request from, what you think is a pretty girl, thinking that she's interested in you, without her saying, "This is my menu. This is the content I sell." And it makes me upset because I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I have nephew that's he's like 10, or he's 11, and he's at that age where, he's eventually going to start looking at girls and thinking, oh wow, she's pretty, but it's getting really bad nowadays with social media and the sexualization of women and men. So cutting off pornography and anything that could be deemed lustful is very difficult. I myself struggle with it, but I'm happy to say that it's been 4 years since I watched any porn. Um, not thank you. Not for lacking, the interest to watch it. It's just I remember what it was like when I was watching it. Like I wasn't focused on my girlfriend at the time because, you know, she's not doing what these girls are doing. And it's all fake. It's fantasy. Porn is not love and love is not porn. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I wanted to commend you, Brandon, for, sharing that and being able to be vulnerable about that topic because it's as men it's not something that we feel comfortable sharing because we're afraid that we're going to be belittled by other men, saying, "Oh, just suck it up, dude, you're a guy, just watch some porn, go beat off or whatever." And a lot of us struggle because that can become an addiction. And thank you for sharing that. But as far as my week segue, um, my week's been uh it's been trying, to be honest, but not in a bad way. Um, so the highlight is, I finally finished my manuscript for a book that I've been writing for over a year now. It's called Own Your Bullshit. It's about, owning your past so you can make a brighter future for yourself. And it's recovery based, but it can also be used for any aspect of life. So anybody can read it and to help navigate through trauma or anything. Um, because that's the biggest problem with trauma is it's hard to own that trauma. It's hard to talk about that trauma. Um, so I'm fortunate enough to be able to finally finish that, get it onto paper, print it out, and I'm excited for the next step with that. I know it's a process. A little birdie that's in this podcast with me said it's a process and to enjoy it. um, also, I made the hard decision to leave my job. I put my 2 weeks in. My last day is the 15th of March, and I'm going to be pursuing something different. It's not recovery based, but that does not mean that I'm out of the community. I'm not going to be completely cutting this off because this is what I'm passionate about. But I just feel like to make a bigger impact, I need to do it my own way. And that means this podcast, that means my book, that means my podcast, and, reaching out to people that I've made connections with, like past clients, past residents when I was a live-in house manager, just trying to be there for them and not make a profit off them. Because that's where I've really struggled with in the past. I realize you need money, but making a profit off of somebody else's trauma just doesn't sit well with me. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not demeaning anybody. Um, but yeah, it's been a little trying, like trying to figure out if I'm making the right decision. And that's what I've been struggling with this week is, you know, did I make the right decision? Am I doing enough? And it caused me to not be depressed, but to be down on myself. Like, what am I really doing? Am I helping people? Am I a good man to my fiance? Am I a good son? Is this a smart move for my future that I want to establish with my fiance? So that's been my week.
Absolutely. And I can relate to what Brandon and Josh said with the porn situation, man. And like Josh, you hit it right on the head. Porn isn't love and love's not porn, right? And I've definitely struggled with that in the past where I put these expectations on partners that I've had based off of what I've seen online. It's like that's not fucking realistic. Like, let's just be real here. And it provides no form of love, no form of connection, no form of emotional connection, especially when it comes to sex. For me, like sex is a big thing when it comes to emotional connection. I have to have an emotional connection with somebody, and it's not one that's formed overnight. It's not one that's formed over a 2-hour coffee session, right? That it takes time to develop and to get that emotional connection. So I absolutely agree. I agree 100%. My week, man, my week hasn't been terrible. It's been awesome. Everything is starting to ramp up now for me, with my healing work that I'm doing, as well as podcasting, and I'm stepping back into the gym. I finally looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, bro, you need to get rid of that belly. Not that it's big, but I was like, bro, you got to get rid of that belly and you need a bigger chest. So uh, I went and signed up for a gym about half an hour away, so it gives me time to take pre-workout, go there, do the workout, come back home, and everything like that. So it's been awesome. I'm enjoying it. Today I bulldozed through my gym session. I did things this week today in the gym that I haven't been able to do in a very long time. So I'm really excited about that. Progress is progress, not perfection. Thank you. Um, I'll say one of the things that I have been struggling with. There's two things really. The first one this week is consistency, being consistent, right? Not that I am not being consistent, but that thought in the back of my head that says, I don't have to go to the gym today. But like, if I don't go to the gym today, I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow, right? Like I'm scheduled for 3 times a week, and that's fine. That is great, especially with the physical pain that I'm in. But if I don't go to the gym on Monday, I'm not going to the gym on Wednesday, and then that creates a trend of not of inconsistency, which is something that I have struggled with a lot in my recovery, is being consistent, maintaining that consistency. So I'm paying attention super strong to it. And even when those thoughts pop up and it's like, yeah, dude, you could skip today. It's like, but why? Because I have a goal and I know what my goal is and I know how to achieve it. Now I just have to go out and achieve it. And so that was one of the things. And the second thing that I've been struggling with this week, I guess would be not falling into old patterns, old emotional patterns. When you see something pop up that is out of the normal, right? Like I used to have a hard time with regulating myself, regulating my emotions, even being able to sit in that space and see what I'm seeing and not spiral. For the first time ever, I'm able to actually sit down and not spiral and see what it is, not what I want it to be. So those are two things that I have been struggling with this week that have actually been working out because I've been putting extra focus on them to make them work and to work on them really. So before we shut down, is there anything that you guys want to say before we close down shop?
Never give up, no matter where you're
Mm,
at. Put your best foot forward, and when you seemingly fail, don't look at it as a failure. Look at it as a lesson, and just give yourself grace, knowing that you're doing your best.
I said this on the recovery couch, and I live by it. Be a tsunami, be an unstoppable force. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't not let nothing stand in your way. And remember, for anybody listening, anybody watching, we love you and we care about you.
mm. You guys just like kind of segued right into the sign off that I'm about to do that I came up with. Recovery isn't for the weak; it's for the men willing to face themselves. recovery is for everybody. Stay sober, keep doing the work, and we'll see you next time.